I'll request other participants to mute their mics, please. Okay, Alhamdulillah. I would like to thank, first of all, Allah and MFIRD for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. It's a wonderful opportunity to talk with brilliant minds of Ummah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I would like to start this session. So this will be agenda, my brothers. I'll talk about the introduction. We'll quickly run through the introduction. I'll talk about my journey. We'll first talk about start with why we need to start thinking on that front. Future is faster than you think. I'll be talking about Industry 4.0, which is a disruptive technologies coming up in industry. And this Industry 4.0 actually combines manufacturing industry as well as the software industry together. And from a Gartner study, I'll be talking about emerging technologies which are coming up in next 6 to 8 years. And I'll also talk about power of continuous improvement. And at the end, I'll be sharing a story from a cricketer. So it's a quick introduction. I'm a BE Mechanical. I've done MBA Marketing. Currently pursuing certification in Data Science Foundation from Insight Institute. Certification, I'm certified Six Sigma Black Belt from American Society for Quality. ISO 9001 2015 certified internal auditor. IATF 16949 2016 certified internal auditor as well. In 2020, I've done Scrum Alliance certification in Scrum Master. So I was planning to shift from manufacturing industry to software. So I started preparing myself and done that Scrum Master certification. And I've also done ISO 9001 2015 lead auditor certification. So here is my quick journey. The point I would like to make here is what got you here will not take you where you want to be. So whatever efforts, whatever things you have done so far to reach your current qualification or a position in organization won't help you to reach the highest pinnacle of your career. So one need to continuously upgrade, upskill, reskill uh, oneself so that they can stay up market in the as compared to other competition. And these are the things which I have done so far in my career doing the certification. I started my career from a small scale industry which has 30 employees to MNCs, and currently working in TCS Tata Consultancy Services where we have 5 lakhs employees, and I'm working as a functional consultant in IoT group. So it's really a matter how you differentiate yourself from others, and that is really important here to keep yourself in the market, in the job market. So I'll be talking about this start with why. When Simon Sinek, who is the speaker, he explained this circle, he called it as a golden circle, and in the context of organization. But I think of this from individual perspective as well. So this is also applicable. So when the outermost circle is talking about what, so organizations know what are their products, what are their services. Individuals also know what they are doing in their life. Then the second circle is how. So most of the organizations know how you do it, what are the processes, what is the USP. Individuals also know what is their USP. The most inner circle is why. So why you are doing it. Many organizations won't be able to explain this why, and similarly individuals also will not be able to explain why. So my brothers, please find out this why. So what is the purpose of my life? Why I am here? It's a long journey to find out why, but you can at least start it. You can take the first step to understand the why of your life. So why we need to change so fast? Because the future is faster than you think. And I'll be taking two examples from the industry and explaining how future is faster than what we think. Here is an example of digital photos versus analog photos. Okay, first talk about this chart. So this chart explain the years on the x-axis and y on the number of photos taken. If you look at the year 2000, so year 2000, there is a sudden drop in analog photos, and the all photos taken, it is still in the uptrend, and there is a disruptive uptrend here. So if you talk about this Kodak company, which started in 1996, they had a market cap of $28 billion, 140,000 employees. In 2012, it went bankrupt with 17,000 employees. And in the same year, April 2012, this company is launched. So I'll be asking the audience, do you know the logo of this company? Which company is this? Anyone can unmute and answer this.
Instagram.
Yeah, so that's the Instagram. They started with 13 employees, 1 billion market cap. Does anyone know what is the current market cap of
Yeah,
Instagram?
I think it's more than $12 billion.
Yeah, in 2020, it is $24 billion. And you can imagine the disruptive change which this has bring in the market, in the industry. Adapting to the change, let's take another example. Uh, this Blockbuster company. So this is Blockbuster companies from United States. They had 9,000 video rental stores. They were dealing into uh, video rentals. They had 9,000 stores, 84,000 employees, $3 billion of the market cap. In the first year itself, they earned $800 million through the late fees. And in December 2008, the CEO of Blockbuster said Netflix is not on the radar itself in the competition. So you can see here in the chart in 2008, he made that statement, December 2008. And by 2010, Blockbuster went bankrupt. And Netflix gained that opportunity. And you know, current market cap of Netflix, so it's a $289 billion, which they announced in October 21. So change is really important, and how you adopt to that change is really important to keep yourself in the market. So that is the message which I wanted to all of you to take. There are changes happening out in the market. There is a disruptive technologies are coming up. A lot of things are changing around. How quickly I can adapt to that change, how quickly I can learn those things. Now I'll be coming to the main topic of this talk, Industry 4.0. So this Industry 4.0 is bringing the disruptive technologies in the manufacturing, and this is getting in hands on hands with the software industry to make that change, in getting hands on hands with the electronics industry with a lot of sensors, hardwares. So let's talk about first Industry 1.0. So this chart, uh, the timeline is on the x-axis. On the y-axis, it is a degree of complexity. As you go up, the as you go up, the complexity is increasing. So Industry 1.0, it started with 1784 with the first mechanical weaving loom. It was more of a water and a steam power. Industry 2.0 was with the first assembly line to mass production. They started using electrical energy. In Industry 3.0, it was starting of the computers. They started using the computers, application of electronics and IT to automate the production. That is the Industry 3.0. Now, whereas we talk about current time of Industry 4.0, it talks about the cyber physical production systems, merging of real and virtual worlds. Few data points: the digital manufacturing industry is growing and is expected to reach $767 billion by 2025. The important point here, which I would like to make, is with these smart factories reimagining the manufacturing jobs, there is a growing need of professionals with emerging technologies to lead this digital transformation in the sector. There is a lot of need here from the market. I was attending a Quality Council of India seminar where there were government and industry officials were also there. And one of the government official mentioned about this is, the MSME sector. Can anybody answer what is MSME? So I'm keeping this interactive because on the online version, we don't know what is happening on the other side. So
medium small enterprises.
right. So it's a micro, small, medium enterprises.
I'm actually from the MSME sector myself.
Nice, sir. Nice. So you'll be correlating this example, which I'm quoting from that government official. So that person said the current MSME sector is between Industry 2.0 and 3.0, right? And where current trend is talking about Industry 4.0. So you can understand how much scope there is, how much things will be changing in coming days. I'll just talk about two examples. Fanuc robotic company from Japan. They are operating their factory as a light out factory. So there is no human in that factory since 2001. That robots are building the robots. They are building like 50 robots per 24 hours. And that factory can run unsupervised for 30 days. So there is no human being in that factory. And it can run unsupervised for 30 days by straight. Another example, and the example which are giving here is the highest things in Industry 4.0, which they have achieved. Like Philips factory in Netherlands, they have 128 robots working in that factory and only 9 workers. And those 9 workers are quality assurance workers. They just check the part. They do nothing in that one. So the vision they're talking about is in the factory, there are only 2 individuals. One is the security guard who will switch on and off the entire factory, and a dog which will take care of that security guy. So this is the future they are talking about. So in the same scenario, I'll be talking about a few examples where what technologies are there in Industry 4.0. So it encompasses autonomous robots, where there are robots which are working on the shop floor. From one station to another station, they are bringing the parts, they are getting the commands to bring the parts. And there are also cobots. So cobots are collaborative robots. They work in tandem with human. So current robotics industry, you might have seen on the shop floor that there is cages around the entire robotic facility because those are really moving fast. But cobots is an innovation where that cobot can work with human. So partial operation is done by human and another operation is done by that cobot. Simulation. So before you manufacture the part, before you make that part, there is a lot of simulation they do. They test the part on the softwares. So to understand whether those are going to work or not. Internet of Things. Cybersecurity is really important here to save that data from the breaches. And now, as you know, everything is moving to the clouds. So where you can access from anywhere at any part of the world. augmented reality, where actually you can wear the glasses and you can see the different world around you. So these technologies are used in the maintenance of the machine, where maintenance engineer can actually see the diagrams of the electrical wiring harnesses. He can see which nuts to be tightened. Those are the things which are contributing to this industry 4.0. I'll not be talking about all the things here, but certainly kind of a thing which you can go back and understand and learn more in industry 4.0. Few examples from one example from supply chain, another will be from HR. So HR people should not think that nothing is changing in their world, but there are a lot of things which are changing. In supply chain, one of my cousin brother have transportation business, and he have a fleet of 30 trucks, and he is using a mobile app which can track all the 30 vehicles. He can understand why the driver is waiting for so long. He can understand the fuel level in the truck. And my cousin is like a 10th pass. He can run that company while sitting at his home, at his office, and he can look at all the 30 vehicles running around in the Maharashtra. So these are the things which are changing in the supply chain. Based on the changes in the supply and demand, things can be changed. You can track the packages, you can track the logistics, where are the parts, you can order it on the go. And you can see by graph is like by 2025, this digital ecosystem is increasing by 23%. Digital supply is going to increase, digital value network is going to increase in supply chain. If I talk about particularly HR, predictive analytics, started using it. I can share my own example where I've taken the interviews of folks before the candidate comes in. I go to LinkedIn, I go to Facebook, I understand the employee, how and what they share on their social network, how much certification that person has done through the LinkedIn, I can understand. And for what HR can do is they can do the predictions about the cultural fit of employee, how much employee will be engaged, how much ability this person have to upskill and stay relevant, and how much duration that person is going to stay in that company. Like if the person is moving from one organization to another organization in 6 to 1 year, they can understand that this guy or this girl is going to stay only for 6 months or 1 year. They can understand the attrition from that predictions. So every aspect of the industry is changing. They're trying to understand more from the data, more from the they collecting the data from the sensors, understanding it in deep. So this is a emerging technology radar, impact radar, I would say. This is from Gartner. The Gartner, they are doing industry research, and irrespective of the industry irrespective of the company, they do as a individuals for this research. This is a little complicated to understand, but I'll try to explain it here. So if we talk about the entire circle, it is divided into 4 sections: the smart world, productivity revolution, transparent security, and these critical enablers. And there are different circles inside here. So if I talk about this yellow circle, this talks about the range of the technology in suppose 0 to 1 years. So yellow is a 0 to 1 years. So 0 to 1 year, this is going to be coming up very fast. 1 to 3 years, it will take 1 to 3 years to reach the maturity of the technology. Next is a 3 to 6 years. It will take a 3 to 6 years to mature the technology. That means these are the spaces where there will be a lot of innovation, lot of patterns will be happening in this area. So if there are research scientists or research students in this session, they can understand that these are the technologies which will have a lot of scope in innovation. And these dots, I'll talk about these dots is the mass. So how much impact they are going to have and how much acceptability will be there from the people on the or the industry on this one. So let's talk about the smart world, because we're talking about the manufacturing industry. Or here you can see the digital twin. So it is coming up in next 1 to 3 years. IoT platforms, it is between that 3 to 5 years band. Smart spaces, where COVID has bring us all as a work from home. But when going to back to the office, most companies are starting with the smart spaces where there will be different the space office spaces temperature will be controlled. There will be oxygen levels will be controlled with this smart spaces technology. So these are the things which are changing in this coming 1 to 8 years. This study is available on Gartner. You can go there, register yourself, and read about this article as well. And there are a lot of other articles on the emerging technologies from Gartner, NASCOM. They're talking similar in the same line that there will be disruptions in the industry now. With the COVID, this disruption has increased multifolds. Companies have started adopting new technologies where employees are doing work from home or only few of the employees are in the office, how they can achieve more with less. So now question comes up, how fast I need to change. So there are a lot of things are changing, and how I can keep up to speed of this. And for that, let's understand this. 1% better every day is going to achieve at the end of the year, you will be 37 times better. And 1% worse every day, and you will be almost zero there. And when I look at this, I also apply this with our Mehnat of Deen, also Mehnat of religious things. If I do 1% better every day in my Dawat Tabligh, in my religious efforts, at the year end, I'll be 37 times better at least. And if I don't do anything, it is going on as it is. But if I am 1% worse every day, so I'll be almost zero at the end of the year. So choice is ours. How much we want to improve, how much we want to be better at the year end. So it is only 1% every day. If I start in the morning, how I can be 1% better every day, that I need to think. How I can learn new things every day, how I can learn or start looking at the what is the changing in the market, what is changing in the technologies, whatever field I am in. I'm in software, I'm in a manufacturing. What are the changes are happening in that field? And if I don't do it, certainly there will be people who will replace me. There will be people who will be there will be people who will be actually ready to replace myself. Just a minute, team. I'm getting a call from Abdullah. Abdullah, you're there in the meeting? Sure. So sorry for that call in between. So let's talk about, and I'll be ending this my session today with one story. And many of you might have heard this story or might have seen this story of this guy. Do you remember this guy? Can anyone answer this guy? Who is this?
Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah,
Sachin Tendulkar.
right. So this guy, in his around 16 years, there was a test series in 1989 in Pakistan. And the test series was India versus Pakistan. And you know the emotions. So on the other side, India already lost 2 test matches. It was the third match. Uh, there is Waqar Yunus, Wasim Akram, bowling at the speed of 150 kilometers per hour. There are bouncers coming up. There are Azharuddin, Navjot Singh Sidhu. They're not able to play with that. And this guy was on the field. The first ball, it was a dot. Second ball, it was a dot. And third ball, it was a bouncer from Waqar Yunus, and it hit on his nose. It was a bleeding. It was a bleeding nose. Uh, Another side of the batsman was Navjot Singh Sidhu. He ran to him. He saw that there is a lot of blood coming out of his nose. Physiotherapist ran out with a stretcher, and Sidhu was suggesting him to go as a injured, come back once all these bowlers, fast bowlers, get tired, so that you can play. And it was almost everyone thought that this guy will go back to the pavilion and will come back as a injured in the next day or the in the evening, or he will not come back. He will go to the hospital, take a treatment, and he can come back. Where everyone was saying that you go back, he just said two words. He said, "Main khelega. I'll play." So this guy had two choices: either go back to pavilion, that is a comfort zone. He can go back to the pavilion, take a treatment. Another choice he had was stay on the pitch, face whatever it is coming up. So, my dear brothers, tough balls will come, adversities will come, hard times will come there. How you stand up against that and say, "Main khelega." Whatever will be the situation and difficulties, you will look into the eyes of the problem, and by the help of Allah, you will say, "Main khelega. I will play this." Technology is disrupting, everything is changing around the world. There's a new normal coming up, new things are coming up, but I'll stay on the pitch and I will play and I'll say I'll make khelega. So I hope this story inspired you and you'll take this up as a make khelega attitude in your professional life as well. If there is a tough time coming up in company, if there's a tough time coming up in the market, there is a lot of layoffs happening in the industry, but you will be on the pitch and you'll say make khelega. Sir, make khelega ye. So with that, my dear brothers, I'll end up my session. Any questions for me or any thoughts, any feedbacks or any comments? I'll be happy to answer that. I'll be happy to hear that.
So, hi Salil Saab, this is Abdul Qadir from
Yes, sir.
Delhi.
From?
From Delhi.
Okay.
I have a question actually.
Yeah, please.
I'm in software industry.
Mhm.
Tomorrow I'm going to join EY as a consultant, technical consultant.
Nice.
So I'm researching regarding the same, that what's new I can learn, because there are a lot of courses, there are a lot of certification in IT industry.
Right.
I just want to take your feedback, like from future perspective, what will be the best thing to me as a consultant so that I can provide services in the industry, and parallelly I also grow myself.
Sure, sir. Very nice question, sir. And as I understood that you are coming from a software background, right?
Right.
Right. So I'll come back to this slide, sir, if you are able to see my slide again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we are talking about for next 1 to 3 years, this is the area where you can focus on.
Okay.
So things are changing in digital twin, IoT platform. So if I talk about Internet of Things, so
Mm-hmm.
for manufacturing, they call it as IIoT, so Industrial Internet of Things. But for other industry, it is IoT. So there is a smart homes concept, there is a smart car concept, there is a smart industry, smart factories. And from a software side, you need to be able to understand the customer needs, what they are looking for. So whatever you do from coding in the Java, for coding in the C++, Azure DevOps, so those are the basic things which you'll need. But over and above, you need to understand what customer is talking about, what they are talking about in their own domain. Suppose you are working in banking and finance sector, what they are talking about, what they need, what is need of manufacturing industry. So with this COVID thing, A lot of manufacturing industries are coming up from paperless to digital version of what they are doing on the paper. So those are the things as a consultant you need to understand, and you go back and communicate to your technical team. These are the things which we need to change as per the customer requirement. I hope able to answer your question, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'll do more research, and if required, I'll talk to you definitely.
Definitely, sir. Yeah, sure.
I have one question. When you, Salil bhai, when you talk about Industry 4.0, smart factories and stuff, we already have PLM across, I mean, which is very much quite matured in the industry today. So, like, do we have Industry 4.0 as an extension of PLM itself, or we add some features to PLM so that it becomes uh, towards Industry 4.0, or how is
Yeah,
it? Like, what is the interaction between PLM and this?
sure. I'll give an example. Like, imagine Industry 4.0 is a big lake, and PLM is one part of it. So over and above that PLM, so what Industry 4.0 is talking about, how you get the inputs from the end user of the product on the go when you're developing the product, how you get that feedback, how you make changes in that design itself before it goes to manufacturing. When it comes to manufacturing, you understand how the products are getting built, how you get the live feedback from the shop floor to the earlier stations or the later station to understand, yeah, there is a defective part coming up, or there is a defect happening already there on the shop floor. And this all things engineer can sit in the cabin and understand. Once you build that product, whether it is meeting the customer requirement or not, when you test that product, how you test it fastly. So like example of tractor industry. So in a 1 year they run a tractor for 1000 hours, for example. So they will not take 5 years to test that tractor before it launch. So they will do a speed test. They will do stress test on that tractor to understand and get the inputs from the field faster to change in their product. So this is example which I'm talking about, from designing it to the product is reaching to the customer. Now in between that there will be supplier and customer relationship as well, where you get the parts from the supplier. So they will get also intimation that there is a huge demand now. We used to build 1000 cars last month, but now we have 1500 cars needs to be built, and that too one for 10% of the white cars, 10% of the red cars. So I need parts painted in the red, I need parts painted in white. So that also gets to the supplier, and they start building that in uh, in more of a advanced version. In advanced time they build it. So this is how Industry 4.0 is changing. PLM is one part of it, brother. So there is a lot of things which is changing here. So digital twin. So uh, digital twin, I was showing it here in the emerging technologies here. So what and exactly it is talking about is, you have exact same digital twin of your entire manufacturing plant on your desktop. Suppose I am a MD of a company, I will not go to the factory, I'll sit at home and I will look at the digital twin, understand which process is running, how much yield, which process need immediate attention. Everything I can do it from my home. So that is all happening out in the Industry 4.0. I hope I was able to answer that question, Abdullah.
Yes, thank you.
Sir, my question is to admin. Sir, if possible, can you upload this recorded video to the group, sir? Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Abdullah, this is a question for you, I guess.
Yes, yes, brother. We in the invitation we have a YouTube link, tinyurl.com/mfid. In that you can find recordings of all the sessions, including this one and all the other sessions which we conduct on every Sunday. You can find this recorded session on that private YouTube channel.
we have to go to the YouTube, right?
Yes, on the chat, you see the message and the link.
Okay.
Dr. Saif Abrar Saab has shared the link also. You can follow that link to get the recordings.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have one question from Brother Habibur Rahman Saab. He has raised his hand.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Yes.
Now, when we are talking about IoT, cloud,
Mhm.
blockchain, and IIoT, now is there a framework where you can which you can suggest as open source, or something where we can have a stack like people used to have the LAMP stack when they were doing software development. So is there something like that which can help us is come up with the solution based on that stack?
So sir, you are from software industry or?
I have a mixed background of hardware, IT, IoT, and
Nice.
various solutions in the government and corporate sector, financials,
Okay.
to ERP and all this background.
Nice.
Quite varied background. Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, before coming to this industry, I had experience from manufacturing. But when I come to this, what things I have understood is the companies which are providing these solutions around IoT, blockchain, digital twin, they are also into phase of learning this. So imagine that things are changing rapidly, and you also need to adopt and change it according to it. So everyone here is kind of learning in this field. So what industries are doing, every company is coming up with their own thought process behind how we need to build that stack. And this Gartner, NASCOM, these are the research companies. They are helping industries to with their research reports that how things are changing and what needs to be done here. So there is no fixed answer for this question, sir. But every industry, they are trying to figure it out. And for that also, they are tying up with government institutes. They are tying up with academic institutes for students to research on these topics. And they are coming up with their own method. So maybe by year of 2 or 3 years down the line, we will be able to see that matured process or a stack, which we already had for example, for waterfall methods or for other product development methods. So yeah, we all are running in this, sir. So things are
Right.
changing.
Thank you very much. Can you share your LinkedIn profile and also some contact details so that we can, sometime have offline discussion on some of the.
Sure, sir.
Right.
Definitely.
Thank you
Sure,
very much.
definitely. Yeah. So I'll type it in the chat, my cell phone number, and the LinkedIn ID or LinkedIn link is provided in the invite. So you can click on that and
Yeah,
connect
that
with me.
fine. Email address, Gmail, a personal email address or something that would be
Sure,
helpful
sir.
instead
Sure,
of bothering on the phone or WhatsApp.
sure, sir. I'll be typing it here. And I'll also suggest, sir, if there are any seminars or events happening from the government, you please try to attend those. They also have few things which they are planning up, and particularly for MSME sectors. So I try to attend those so that I learn more and understand what is current situation in the market.
So mostly MSME invites and all that. Fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So OEMs and MNCs, they are kind of first takers of it, but understand that MSME is a bigger version or bigger area which is not covered yet. So if I think about myself, where I should focus more on, as I said in that Quality Council seminar, that government official was talking about current MSME sector is from industry 2.0 and 3.0, and whereas we are talking about industry 4.0. So these people also needs to be uplift themselves so that they reach at that point of time.
But there is, don't you think that there is, like a combination of issues of human resources and also their affordability of the upgrading technology is a question most of the time, because most of the MSMEs sometimes are
One,
man
they don't have
dependent,
this.
yeah,
Right,
human
right.
dependent, and they would like to keep that because of sometime affordability of the cost, and then technology cost would be a bit overbearing for them, something like that. This is
Right,
just a general statement.
Yeah. So maybe I'll try to explain through one example. So imagine, sir, buying a car 20 years back or 15 years back. Many families were not able to afford that, right? And if I talk about this year, 2022, 2021, every other person has a car because there are a lot of things change, a lot of opportunities come up, people can buy the car. So in that similar way, right now these things are changing really fast, and big companies are investing more, and software industries like TCS, Infosys, Capgemini, they are building their products for them. But certainly there will be point in time where it will be more affordable products will come in the market where these small players will adopt that. And if that don't come, suppose as a OEM, I want my supplier to follow, have a blockchain or have a live feedback to me where what they are manufacturing. They need to adopt it.
Yeah, this is something I was thinking on. For example, now we have got so much uh, items which are fake, whether it is in food chain or it is in FMCG and all that.
Mhm.
So a lot of it, there is no tracking who is selling to who, and then is it really the original product? So that's where I was thinking of can we have some blockchain solution where if
Yeah.
I'm buying something, I can see where exactly this particular item, whether it was sold, who was the distributor, who was the retailer, and where it has come. Can I just see that?
Yeah.
So just a thought.
Yeah. So there are a lot of smaller electronic devices, chips, I would say, those are coming up, which you can be mount on your vehicle, mount on your electronic devices, which can track where exactly this is getting worked on, where is the last location of this machine or this vehicle. So those are the things which are coming up. And the
Yeah.
example which I was giving of my cousin, where he track all his 30 trucks fleet on the mobile, and he can understand if the driver is waiting for more than expected time. He can call the driver and say what is happening. Is there a breakdown or is there something happening there?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful question, sir. Thank
Sir,
you.
name of this software?
Which one?
You told me, sir, your
So it's an
brother,
app.
cousin brother is
It's
track.
it's an app. You can download it from Google. I forgot the name of that app.
Okay.
I guess it's a logistic or a truck fleet or something like that. So but you can try to search on that.
Sir, it's whether it's possible by downloading only app, or we have to fix other some things to the vehicles also.
Actually, it needs there is kind of a GPS device needs to be fit on the truck so that it
Okay.
can track where it is.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will not track, right? So maybe you can try fitting that on your bike or a car and then try to see how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have two questions from Dr. Zahir Hassan on the chat. Um, so the first
Yeah.
question Dr. Saab is asking is what the human will do in near future. That is the first question. Perhaps that is connected with automation and all that. The
Mhm.
second question, Salil Bhai, is how do we change ourselves on daily basis in the field of teaching and research without resources or with very less resources?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Zahid Saab, for that wonderful question. The first question, what the human will be doing in near future. So you might have seen that metaverse launch from Facebook, right? If not, then I'll request you to see it on YouTube. What is metaverse? Okay. So what humans will be doing, they will be monitoring what is happening, what the devices are doing, what the machines are doing. So that will be the job of monitoring and inspection or doing the checks. That will be the human job, I will say, humans will be doing. Another question is how we change ourselves on daily basis in the field of teaching as well as in research without resources or very less resources. So I would say, sir, uh, it is not right to say that there are very less resources. There is ample of resources available, ample of data is available, ample of research is available. We just need to find out the right place where we can search that. The first thing you can search, start with a Google, but certainly there will be a lot of research topics or research data is available. Uh, you have Udemy, you have other learning platforms. LinkedIn is a learning platform where you can learn. And there are also a lot of YouTube channels which provide this on a free basis. So you can learn from them. A lot of seminar sessions happen for free with the COVID thing. Earlier used to be we need to go to a seminar, attend there for 2 days, pay for it. But with the COVID, there are a lot of free seminars from Gartner, NASCOM. They can talk about that freely on the virtual, and you don't have to go outside anywhere. You can stay at your home and learn from that. So the thing which is in your hand is mobile. That is a very good resource to learn. Very good resource to learn by paying less. So one reaches of that internet will provide you a lot of opportunities to learn. So I hope Dr. Zai Saab will be able to answer your question.
Yes, we have one question, Saril Bhai, from Brother Ahmed. He tells, I am from a non-IT background and willing to transition into IoT or big data. What would be the roadmap for the ones who don't have any programming prior experience?
Sure. A very good question, Brother Ahmed. So first thing is, if you want to go to IoT or a big data, and these companies are working in IT industry or they are building the solution and they work in Agile and Scrum methodology. So first thing you need to do is understand what is Agile, what is Scrum, and if you can do some certification in Agile and Scrum. Another very good opportunity for people from non-IT background is data analysis. So this is the field where a lot of non-IT people are coming up because the language they are using it is in, for example, Python they are using it, which is very easy to code for a non-IT background person. Even from a mechanical engineering side, people are moving to IT with that courses. So there is data analysis courses available on the market, but you need to start first with understanding Agile and Scrum. What is the project delivery methodology in Agile and Scrum? That will be the first question they will be asking you if you are coming from non-IT background, whether do you know what is Agile or what is Scrum? Yeah, I hope I was able to answer that.
Yes, it was really insightful. I think first I have to go through this Agile and Scrum thing
Yes,
because
correct.
I don't have any knowledge about this thing.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Assalamu alaikum, brothers.
Islam.
My name is Muhammad Yusuf, and I'm also in the SME industry.
Mhm.
So just for some of our small business owners who wanted to bring in some systems and other technologies for for our supply chain processes. So we do not want to go full-fledged and bring in
Right.
huge SAP systems, but we just want to bring in something without the bigger bells and whistles, but we wanted to build something customized for ourselves, keeping in mind what the future trends are going towards. Any suggestions on the kind of platforms and development technologies that you would suggest that would be in line with what is going to be possibly the industry standard for the next decade or so? So maybe if you're suggesting like programming language like Python, where we can build some customized solutions for ourselves, or if there are other examples that you would suggest, that would be very helpful, brothers.
Sure, sir. So I may ask you one question: which industry you're from, or which manufacturing? Do you have a manufacturing?
No,
background?
actually, we are more in the shipping industry.
Okay.
So a lot to do with the actual vessels and the supplies to vessels.
Okay.
So yeah, so all the consumables that vessels would be using for their journey. So that's the kind of area that we specialize in.
Sure, sure, sir. Sure. So I might start with one example. You might be tracking the non-conformance, right? The product are meeting the requirements or not, yes?
Yes, we do.
Right. And the current process which you follow would be a check sheet on a paper, right? You check different parameters and your engineer tell whether it is meeting the target or not, yes or no.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So the first process, that paper process, you can get converted into a digitized version of it. That will be the first step. In IoT, the most of the industries, their first step is digitizing whatever paper-based things which they are doing. The reason of that is once you digitize is you'll get a lot of data to make the informative decision. On the paper, what happens is you document everything on the paper, you store that paper for 1 year, 3 years. After that, you scrap it by the logic of your retention policy. But once you have the digitized version, it will get stored and you can make informative decisions on that. And coming to the question, how you don't want to invest more on that, but still you want to do that. So there are a lot of things. You might be knowing the SharePoint, right? You might be having a SharePoint in your organization, your dedicated SharePoints. So these are the things which can be implemented or done on the SharePoint. And I had in my previous company, I have done a project on the SharePoint itself. And that SharePoint you can access from your phone or a tablet to record the data. So this is the simplest version of it. Another version of it, more complicated, can be there are a lot of small processors like a Adreno processor that you can have it. And Python is a language you can use it. You can program it. And there are small things on your manufacturing plant which you can uh, understand the pain area and start implementing the solution there. So first thing, Yusubai, is to understand what is the most painful area right now in your organization and how this industry 4.0 or digitization can change the way you are doing right now.
Noted, brother. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for that question.
Any other questions we have?
So, Brother Abdullah, if even if not a question, a comment or a feedback, or whether you like the session or it was informative, any feedback, any thoughts around this?
Yes, any feedback about this, about the session, or any suggestions or any questions from any of the attendees? All right, then if there is nothing else, I think we can end this call. I would again like to thank Salil Bhai for his valuable time and this presentation and insights, and all the attendees for a very interactive session and a lot of questions. Um, and Salil Bhai has shared his contact details. If anyone wants to be in touch with him, they can be in touch for questions regarding this area of expertise. And I'd like to again thank everyone for attending this call, and see you again in the next meeting next week, inshallah. So thanks again, Jazakallah, and have a good Sunday.